It's Saturday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Veronica Dan Ikboy. I'm not here alone. As usual, I have my co-hosts here, although we have a new co-host joining us this morning, and I will begin with her. Mrs. Fash, welcome to the show this morning. It's good to have you. Good morning.
I feel good. Good morning, Veronica. It's so good to be here. Good morning, Toby.
It's good to have you.
Thank you
Just
for
talk to our viewers, tell them who you are and all that you had done over the week.
Okay. So I'm Adirunke Fashiru.
Yeah.
I love to work with children. I'm a human resource practitioner. So this week was all about policies. I ended up with a dress code policy yesterday.
Oh,
so nice. Yeah, so it's been policy process. So for next week, I have a couple of meetings, and I have a couple of sessions with children, because I feel we've got to be intentional about this generation. So it wouldn't be just talk. Some action with children next week.
All right. It will be interesting to hear what your experience has been with working with children and parents as well. But let's come to you, Toby.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine. My week was like a roller coaster. My son was a bit strong. Didn't go to school for 3 days.
Fine now.
Yeah, it's better.
Right.
You know when a child is just running temperature and is just jumping all around. So basically that was what was wrong with him. And then I hosted a couple of events last week too. And then business as usual, yes. So I sell shea butter, right? So business was going on regularly. So basically, that's how my week went.
Right. I had an
your week?
Yeah.
My week was interesting, filled with activities. Yesterday, we were somewhere at Trinity University to speak with some young communicators who are students looking to get into the industry. So we had to speak with them by way of encouraging them to be part of the system and what they should expect when they join the system. But then again, this week, Your View clocked 10 years.
Yes.
Although we are an extension of the team, we must appreciate the fact that the women of the program that have been on for 10 years were able to sustain the momentum over 10 years. Maintaining the #1 spot over the years with millions of viewers. We must also remember those working behind the scene, the producers, the directors, the cameramen, the floor person. Every single person.
It takes a village.
Yes, of course, it takes a village to ensure that you have that kind of show, sustaining that momentum for 10 good years. Awesome. Over thousands of episodes, and then the number of viewers, the number of guests that has come in, and the number of impact that has been made.
I was waiting for you to talk about the impact.
Impact has been made over the years, I must say.
Because it's not just talk.
It's not just talk.
It's been really impactful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we must commend everyone that has been a part of the show, and that is why we are happy to be a part of the show as well. Yes. Of course.
Thank you.
And we see that as the years goes on, as the months goes on, we will also be making the necessary impact. That's why we'll talk about issues that affect our society, and that's why I'm glad that you are working with children and are looking at how to be deliberate with our children in the coming years. And then there are those of us who are also talking about issues surrounding young girls, women, and all of those issues, societal issues basically. We see how we can influence legislation, influence the necessary people to ensure that they look at these persons, this crop of people in the society, and not abandon them. So it's an important thing. So congratulations to Your View, the team of Your View, and everyone that has made the show so successful over the past 10 years. We will take a short break now. When we return, we'll come back to look at the newspaper headlines. To stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
For Senate leader and some riders, Yari Izunaso Umahi likely contenders, G5 to battle PDP for minority leaders of Senate House. Some other stories here now. How 200 billion naira was spent on census in 9 years by NPC. And then another story here, how we survived Kwara boat accident that claimed 106 lives. Survivors recall horror scene, lucky escape from Kwara boat accident, a really sad event that happened over the week. And then another story here, I got reports about electoral infractions from our agents. Dino Melaye tells court. NJC constitutes panel to probe 7 judges, bars judges from switching from High Court to Customary Court of Appeal, recommends elevation of 9 judges to Court of Appeal, appointment of new judges. And then at the top corner, we have IMF hails Tinubu as Naira records first closing gain. Court orders SSS to grant Emefiele access to family lawyers. All right, so let me just begin with this story about the Kwara boat mishap. Over the week, there was a boat mishap in Kwara State, Patigi precisely, a location in Kwara State that is a border with Niger State. And so some persons were coming from a wedding ceremony.
Wow.
Oh, goodness.
And they were in that boat, about over 200 of them.
Wow.
It is reported about 250 of them were in that boat. And it is not the modern kind of boat, it's a wooden boat. And so it was overloaded. And then they were not wearing life jackets.
Okay.
And so it was reported that the boat broke into 2 halves.
Oh.
So about 106 persons died in that incident.
From a wedding.
And from a wedding. And you know how these people are communal. So let all of us go. Let's just enter, all of us, let's move together. You know, let's be amongst ourselves and move together. I believe that was what happened. And then the boat capsized because of the storm, and it was in the night, as it was reported, in the evening, also night. And because of the water levels, you know, the rains have been falling, and so there was a storm, and due to overloading,
would even
for rescue. So those that survived actually swam.
Yeah, so I was waiting for that.
Those that survived actually swam.
Okay.
They were search and rescue, but it was just dead bodies they were getting, and all of it. And a woman, I saw a video where a woman was saying that she lost about 4 daughters or so, either 3 or 4 daughters in the incident, but it was a really sad one, really sad one.
I feel, can we speak to people learning how to swim as a life skill? You know, because we don't know the situations in which we will find ourselves going forward. So we should take learning how to swim as priority. It would help us going forward.
But not everyone. Some people are afraid of water, so they do not go close to water. Okay. That's it. So do you have any story here?
Okay, is it okay? I'd like to talk about this story.
Quickly, because we need to move forward. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm wondering why there are no laws.
So the state government said that they have now come up with, they are coming up with a committee, and then they have coming up with laws. Calm down, Toby. They are coming up with laws that will sanction persons who ply that route. If you want to use the boat, if you want to, if that is the business you want to engage in. So they are going to come to Lagos to learn how Lagos has been able to manage its waterways. Okay. So they will learn that. Okay. Take that as a template for them to implement in the state. That is the information we got. So unfortunately, it is coming after we've lost this number of lives. But then the state government donated about 1,000 life jackets to these persons, but it's still sad that it was after the incident that we are seeing all of this move by the state government. But they are doing something.
Okay.
That's the major thing. Let's move now to Saturday Punch. And the major story here. Emefiele clocks 7 nights in custody. Bauer answers bribery, asset sale questions. Suspended CBN governor begs court for freedom, gets nod for lawyers, family members visits. Embattled EFCC boss facing probe over Matawale's $2 million bribery allegation. And then this story, 3 years after, father, mother await return of 5 kidnapped sons. And how we swam to safety after Kwara boat capsized, the story we just took. IMF to support Nigeria as Naira appreciates to 663 Naira to $1. And this interesting story, I am not with Portable for money, says fiancé. Interesting. And to the top corner, National Assembly, PDP, LPA, NNPP jostle for remaining principal offices. Defense Headquarters differs as Asari Dokubo accuses military of oil theft. Who has a story here?
I have a story.
I have a story also.
Okay, please go first.
Okay, so I love the story on page 27.
All right.
Yeah, so it's in my field. It has to do with education. And so it's a bit funny. We have this Nigerian teacher who's been in China for about 7 years. And so he's saying, well, the system works. He enjoys what he does. He doesn't hope to return. But what I picked from that story was the introduction of some courses they do there that I feel we're not even talking about in Nigeria. Right. So he kept talking about adjusting our curriculum. Beyond money, beyond better salaries, better welfare. Let's do something about the curriculum. And he mentioned something about critical thinking. I can imagine children having critical thinking as a subject. I mean, it sounds like quantitative reasoning, verbal reasoning, but this time, I mean, we're talking about tangibles. We're talking about research. We're getting them to think as against getting everything done for them. So I feel instead of just looking at the Chinese guy and saying, what are you doing? You should be here working with our children. Let's pick the positive side, which is inculcating some of the best trends in our educational system.
Absolutely.
We can't continue to do what
I agree with you because this matter of reworking our curriculum has been on the front burner for years.
Long.
And we haven't seen much been done with regards to addressing that. And this is something that I hope that this new assembly, the 10th assembly, might want to look into, perhaps. Right, your story.
It's on page 6 of the Saturday Punch. It says 7 ways to avoid being defrauded by online scammers.
I knew it.
So I think that
have you been defrauded before?
I actually have not. Okay. Funny enough. And then people will be like, are you a Nigerian? Right?
Well, I'm not too.
I haven't too.
Aha, so you see, the exceptions.
Nigerians.
And the article went on to highlight 7 things to do, right, or to watch out for. And in my head, when I was reading it, I was saying, these are normal things now that you get, but there are people that fall for it, especially the older citizens, so I'll outline them. The first one is do not click unknown links.
Okay.
Right? Never share password or PIN.
Okay.
Be careful about imputing card details. Never
in public. I want to believe they should have added in public.
Well, even on your phones too sometimes. Then never use free Wi-Fi for online transactions. Be wary of too good to be true offers. And identify scam calls.
Okay.
Right? So those are the 7 things that the article went on to highlight. And so I was thinking about it and saying, be wary of too good to be true offers. You know, because sometimes you get random messages like this saying,
you've been offered, you've been nominated.
And then people will call. Those things actually are not...
When you did not apply, why call?
Why call? Do you see? And I think they're just normal things that it's just easy to think about and reason out, but people don't actually know.
But the aspect of unknown links, there was a time that at about 2 a.m. I just heard the sound on my phone. Someone sent a link to my phone. So they know that you wake up curious, like, what is this? Who is sending this? And then you want to click to see what it is that someone is sending. So I just ignored it. And then what I did was copy, pasted somewhere to see what it was. And then it was something that didn't make sense at the end of the day. So
at 2 a.m.?
At 2 a.m. So instead of clicking, just copy
Okay.
and paste.
Okay.
Paste somewhere if you really are curious to know what it is that this person has sent to you. So I have this story here. 3 years after, father, mother await return of 5 kidnapped sons. It's just a very a sad story. This family in Nasarawa State had, you know, they had 10 children, and so 5 of their sons had gone to the farm to work for some persons at a particular Saturday like that, and they didn't know that they were going to be kidnapped. They do that as a side job for their main job, and so unfortunately, when they went out that day, hoping that their children will return, they never returned. What they got was a call from these kidnappers demanding over 3 million naira, and they had to sell their lands, declutter their homes, to sell some things to pay that ransom. And after payments, their sons have still not been returned.
Wow. And it's been 3 years.
It's been 3 years. Wow. A really sad story. We hope that something can be done to find their sons. We need to quickly go on a break.
Okay.
When we return, we'll continue reviewing the newspapers. To stay with us.
Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome the one who can make time stand still forever, Mr. Kelechi Amadi. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, my brother.
You love that intro, Abi?
Yeah. It was great.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
We try like that.
Thank you.
Now my question, which I feel is a cheap question.
Oh, go ahead.
What does ISO stand for?
That is it. I think I'll drink.
No, you're joking.
I'm not joking.
Kelechi Amadi. No. Shay, you didn't whine me. You're whining me now.
I think I'll drink.
Huh?
No problem.
Okay.
I've always known it as ISO. I never bothered to know what it means. I know what it means, but I never bothered to know what the acronym is. Tell me the brand of camera that I use, so much so that I even became an ambassador. That's very easy. It's out there.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
I just said, let me give you this one as a token of my appreciation.
Sony.
Drink!
I'm not done. You did not say final answer.
It's final answer.
You did not ask me if that was my final
You
answer.
don't have any choice again. It's only
Nikon.
how many cameras do they have? My
Nikon.
friend to drink. I gave you a very easy something.
Nikon now. Ikechukwu Sunday Okonkwo, aka Cross. Now your intro without
Wow.
So there's a name that's.
I'm just drinking because you say I should drink. There's no particular answer.
You think it's only that can be wicked?
What's the answer?
Subterfuge.
Eh?
Yeah, they claim you did, but you said it just happened. That
And it's called what again?
subterfuge.
Such a feud.
SUBTERFUGE.
So you look me finish from head to toe. You look at a person who go know what to be called such. Yeah?
The nude wasn't like a game plan. Or...
I promise you, it was actually a mistake.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome the one who can make time stand still.
Thank you for staying with us. We are still looking through the newspaper headlines, and this time we're moving to Saturday Tribune. The major story here says Asari Dokubo at Asorok Villa, Army, Navy behind oil theft, claims his men are in charge of Abuja-Kaduna Road security, opposes Nnamdi Kanu's release. And this story now, IMF endorses Tinubu's forex reform, experts warn against galloping inflation. Court orders SSS to allow Emefiele access to his family, lawyers Armed robbers kill man, rape his 10 14-year-old daughters in Ibadan. Police confirm arrest of suspects. A really, really sad one there. Police commissioner appoints Mba Chiroma as DIGs. Court set aside order sacking IGP. Defeated APC reps candidates form group make demands from Tinubu. My husband married wife number 7 shortly after our wedding, the woman tells court. Really? Most rich people in the north don't care about us. The poor are reacting. With 1 wife, 2 concubines, 11 children, Vulcanizer says, I need help. That's an interesting story. Ifa does not pick Yoruba kings. Governors do. Oluwo is speaking. Who has what story?
Oh. I have a story on the center spread.
Right,
and it says, 8 immigration officers dismissed, 80 others under probe as passport racketeering continues in Lagos. And this story, especially for people in Nigeria now who have plans to japa, you know, this story would catch their attention because, you know, we all have tried at some point to get our passports done, and we see the stress involved in doing this. And so there was a spokesperson from the NIS, which is the Nigeria Immigration Service, saying that, you know, during COVID, the decision or the influx of people wanting to get their passports were high because the other countries were in need of, you know, professionals. But then, as at today, and then in the last 1 year, that issue is no more so rampant. So what is happening is that some of the staff, ex-staff, and agents are taking advantage of it, saying that there are no booklets. So he says he agrees that even within the system, there are some bad eggs, but it is not to say that there are no booklets in the long run. And I feel like this as, you know, sometimes you just ask somebody, how easy is it? How did you get your passport? I say, I waited for 3 months, or I waited for, you know, those stories are always...
That's the story.
And then we've heard of new words such as fast-tracking.
Of course.
You see?
If you want to fast-track it, if you want to get it, because that's what they will tell you. You get there, you see the number of persons waiting to capture, to do one thing or the other, and then you meet
someone just walks up to you,
some immigration person, and they say, okay, well, if you want to fast track, you have to pay certain, because they'll take your file to various departments, and so to facilitate the fast tracking, you have to drop something. And except you don't need the passport in time if you're not in a hurry.
We're not so patient.
So if you're not patient, you want to pay. But if you are, you will wait. You will wait to go through the process. So what I think it is to make the process seamless for people, such that you apply, you get your date immediately, you don't have to wait all the whole while, maybe for 2 months before you get a date, or 3 months before you get a date to capture. That is a challenge for Nigerians. If you make it seamless and easy, that I come today and then you give me a date to capture, or that I capture immediately, why isn't that possible?
I think that the system should embrace tech.
I think
they do.
They do. But,
I mean, because we have other parastatals using tech, maybe not government, but private parastatals, and it feels like it's seamless.
Okay, but
right?
do you know that between 2020 and now, the number of people who want to japa have tripled in the wrong way? Who need their passports? So the pressure is so much. I was there about a month ago, and I feel sometimes some of the things we hear are exaggerated. It's not exactly, okay, maybe my experience was not as bad as I had thought, because I had everything done within about 2 months. And I felt for those guys when I went there. You know, Nigerians can be quite impatient. So for us to achieve this, maybe we should come up with some kind of laws, better laws, like before you're able to renew your passport, you need to have this period. Before this is done, before you want to capture, go through this process, make the process a little bit
easier. And some people think that if they get their passports in Lagos, it is more valid than, you know, going
so
to
that's
other
something
states.
else we're not addressing. So
Another
many
thing
people
is,
come into Lagos, to get their passport.
Some
so
actually,
the pressure,
people travel
pressure
now to other states. That's what they are doing to other states to make it easy for them to be able to capture. Capturing is the major challenge for a lot of persons.
Yes.
If you make that process seamless, of course we understand that 6 months to the expiration of your passport before you can say you want to seek another passport. Those laws are there. You cannot have a valid passport and say you're still looking to capture or do anything. It's 6 months that you have to say, okay, you want to get another passport. But then let's make the process seamless. That was what we'll make. We know that a lot of persons are coming in. So if you need to hire more hands, hire more hands. That's what it is. So let's quickly move to the next story. This one interests me.
Concubine.
With one wife, 2 concubines, 11 children, vulcanizer says, I need help.
He needs help.
Where your eyes closed, you know that you are a vulcanizer. So this man, his name is Peter, and he's in Delta State.
Okay.
His job, menial job, a vulcanizer. And so he has a wife already.
How many children again?
11.
Just 11, just football team.
What kind of help does he need?
He said that, he says they are his sons, 2 of his sons, 2 of them that, I think his last 2 sons, they have an ambition of going to school to study medicine, and I think the other one law. And so he's saying that with this job, that he wouldn't be able to sponsor them. And so he's seeking help. And I am wondering, because oftentimes what we do in this part of the world is you keep having a number of children and you say, God will provide, God will do this, God will do that. But God has given you wisdom.
Yeah, use it.
To know how to manage yourself. Because every other person has their own burden. They have their own burden. They have their own issues they want to take care of. Do not always think that, I'm not saying people shouldn't help. I'm not saying people, if you have the resource, you can help. Go ahead and help. But why are you having a concubine when you know that you're just a vulcanizer? 2, actually. 2 concubines. You need to know how to manage yourself, knowing that this is the menial job you're doing and that you will need help.
So that's what I was wondering, what kind of help? Because is the help for more
concubines? He needs to sponsor his children to school.
Okay.
Especially his last 2 sons. I don't know about his daughters, if he's not looking at sponsoring them as well to school. But he's saying that his last 2 sons have an ambition that he would like to sponsor, and that is why he's seeking help. So Nigerians, you might want to help this vulcanizer. Look beyond his shortcomings and help his
children.
All right, I don't know if we have a little time to quickly look at Saturday Sun. Does anyone have a story here, Saturday Sun?
So I have something on page 17.
Quickly,
yes,
because of our
it has to do with, I think there was this government official asking this current administration to do something about raising transformational leaders. And I will still go back to a curriculum issue. I feel like screaming it out, that let's do something about our curriculum, let's do something about our teachers. Let's see that we need this change that we want. As against complaining and going back, we've got to, instead of just making it a statement, too many people make the same lines every day. You go on Arise, you see the same line, you go on channels. I mean, the same people are on this show, they are on this other show, and they're all suggesting. Can we just take action?
I forgot to actually read the headlines, and it's the major story here. Oil theft, top military officers exposed. I was checking the time so that we can quickly address one issue or the other here. Asari Dokubo tells Tinubu, those stealing Nigeria's oil fingers army and naval officers, name officers stealing oil, military counters Dokubo. Fresh leadership tussle resumes in Senate. Reps, Ndume, Bamidele battle for Senate leadership position. Seriake Dixon, Aliero locks horns for minority leader. Robbers kill father, rape 2 daughters in Ibadan. Catholic priest kidnapped in Benue. Insecurity is still a major issue in the country. A court set aside order sacking Inspector General of Police. DSS ordered to allow Emefiele family lawyers. And presidential polls, 2.5 million votes not reflected in final results, maths professor tells court. I guess this is the much we can take on the newspaper review this morning. We have to quickly move on to make good use, judicious use of our time. So we take a break. When we return, we'll be looking at our hot topic. So stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Joint tax, the Assembly congratulates the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, PhD, and the Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu, in the emergence as the presiding officers of the 10th House of Representatives. We also congratulate the Speaker of the 9th House, Right Honorable Femi.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Pioneer Positive Force member, dancing queen of the 80s, non-conformist, Afrobeat historian in her right, and long-standing member of the multiple award-winning all-female show Your View, Omoyeni Yeni Anikulapo Kuti, aka YK Power! Ginger,
take it.
today we'll go here.
Hey, I didn't read you.
Are you sure?
Ha. I'm not here to answer questions, I'm here to drink.
We're in trouble today.
What's your age?
I was close now.
Eh?
I said 1975.
He said 73. He said 75. Fellas wasn't even born in 75.
So will I drink half?
You go drink. Take. Make I help you. Russian.
No be half.
Which half? You will make me drink. I'll give you a hint.
Lights in no. Nepa Road. Nepa Road in Abeokuta.
First of all, my brain cannot memorize everything.
A big black bug.
A big black dog.
Bug. A big black bug.
Oh, sorry. A big.
It don't start.
Ọmọ fella. Ọmọ Anikulapo Kuti. Ó rò pé kíni kékeré yìí.
It's by Audison. It's not by Audison. Do you think you can outplay me in this game of wits and knowledge? Can you go 7 rounds without flinching? I meant answering 7 questions correctly. How well can you hold your liquor? If you're curious, then join us for the most exciting conversation and games which
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail.
All right, thank you for staying with us. So there's this notion that parents who have more female children enjoy the most at old age. What are your thoughts? Do you agree or do you disagree? Join the conversation and call us on 081-270-53687 or 091-390-76948. Or you can tweet at us using the hashtag at TVC Connect using the hashtag YourView on TVC. Join the conversation, please. We'd like to hear your thoughts. But ladies, is it true that parents at old age who have daughters enjoy the most as against those who have sons? We know that in this part of the world, most men prefer to have male children and maybe have 1 or 2 daughters. Oftentimes Oftentimes, it's the woman that insists on having a daughter. I want a daughter. I want a daughter. I want to have a daughter. But is it true that really daughters take care of their parents the most when their parents are old, at old age? Is it true?
Just to answer your question, I wonder why girls are referred to as old age treasure.
Right?
Yeah. So I think that's in line with your question. But in practice, I would say, in real terms, the answer sounds like a yes, because most men believe their responsibility towards their parents, their aged parents, should be providing everything they need. So they tend to just send, Mommy, what do you want? You want me to pay for your nanny? You want me to pay your hospital
Isn't that
bills?
a way of taking care of their parents?
So to them, but the person who stays by your side, most times, are the daughters, the companion you need, the person who wants to listen to you, the person who wants to make sure you are fine, not fine in your body, but Mommy is good. When a sister tells her brothers, Mommy is fine, they know that Mommy is really fine, because she's always speaking with Mommy. And I dare say daughter-in-laws as well. But my personal opinion is, it depends on the way you raise your children. Sometimes women tend to be closer to the boys, but all of those things are just myths. Now I see that if you are if you're presently with your children, you're right in front of them, you will be in their memory. So some children just feel quite attached, not just monetarily. So it is not true in all homes. It depends on the values you set now. So if you're closer to your boys, and then there are some boys, maybe that's why some wives feel threatened, because they feel like these boys are too close to their mothers.
Very good. So you just mentioned something that is also a concern to some persons who get married to what they term mommy boys, that boys that are men that are tied to their mother's apron strings. And so the guy might want to feel, okay, I am not tied to my mother's apron string, I'm not tied. So he just wants to cut it off and just do, hello, hi, are you okay? I believe you're fine. You need this money. I send it to you. So how do we then begin to look at balancing that if you have that kind of situation? How does the guy, how does the son come to take care of the family, ensuring that, or assuring his wife that, you see, it is just about, these are my parents.
I mean,
I have to care for them.
Yes.
I'm not tied to their strings. Of course, they are my parents. Yes. The umbilical cord was there. It had been cut off, but then I am still their son. So it is about allaying the fears of the wife and also ensure you are taking care of your parents. How do we do that?
I think that wisdom for a woman in that kind of situation is to make the husband's mother or the boyfriend's mother close to you, or be close to them too. Because if you see that your boyfriend or spouse is close to his parents, it's just wisdom. Because you know, sometimes we hear this story of the girlfriend or the wife is saying, no, your mother is your mother. I'm your girlfriend, so you have to give me that attention. Right? And then sometimes it spirals.
I occupy the pride of place.
Do you see?
I am the first. No other person comes first.
It's just...
So I think it has to do so much with values. And it's not crafted in stone. So it's not in all cases that women tend to be closer. If you ask my dad will tell you, thank God I have daughters. In my next 5 lives, I want to have daughters. Because all my son wants to know is that your allowance does not drop. Let me just send what you need. If you ask my mother-in-law, she will probably say the same thing. She loves her boys a lot, but she feels she has quality time with the wives and with her daughters. My mother-in-law is strange, like my mom. So what she does to her daughters, she does to her daughter-in-laws as well. She makes us feel like, please, whenever I go home, she wants me to be on her bed. She wants us to go out together. She wants us to, sometimes she makes the clothes she has, let's wear and cool. So I think it has to do with being deliberate. And then, men don't have the arms to want to care and follow you everywhere like a woman would do. Because women just feel like you're a part of them. So it has to do with ideologies. For the first time in so many years, this year, Nigeria and maybe the other parts of the world celebrated the Boys' Day I've been in education, but this is the first year that the date is sticking in my brain because we always do Girls' Day, International Day of the Girl Child. Girl education.
In fact, they've been sounding the alarm that Sunday is Father's Day.
Oh, yeah.
So let's remember that.
Public announcement.
You know, so I think parents should just be deliberate. Try and make sure your children have compassion now. It's a compassion issue. If they have compassion now, they would have compassion for you later. Compassion.
But there's this aspect that some children feel that they are not to be saddled with that responsibility of taking care of their parents at old age, that their parents have lived their lives, and so they have to live theirs.
Yes,
and that they are not supposed to be the retirement plan of their parents. There's also that notion. And I would like for us to address that. And so some just practically abandon their parents, saying that right now, it's about me. I need to live my life. I need to build my life. I need to build my home. So that notion also comes to play when we're talking about caring for your parents at old age.
I think that that's like a selfish mindset because your parents have sacrificed for you while growing up. They sent you to school. They've, quote and unquote, made you who you are today. So I think that it is unfair now that you've made it to now think that your parents are a burden on you. They're not a burden on you because if they didn't sacrifice for you in the first place, maybe God would have sent help. I agree. But they did. Right? And so for parents also, some parents think that I sent this child to school and then have the...
Very good.
Okay,
you must take care of me.
So
I want to disagree a little. Yeah, I know that it's just normal for you to do it now and expect that later that child wants to
we give back.
Reciprocate.
Yes.
But I wouldn't want any parent to assume it's a... I don't want to use the word right. It should, your children should take care of you. But I'd like a balance. So I want parents to understand that a good man leaves inheritance for his children, okay? So as you're raising your children, also prepare for tomorrow and give the children time to settle. So many young adults have gone into debt trying to meet up with needs from their immediate families and their parents. Just imagine some of my very close friends who relocated to the UK in about 6 months and 1 year. I mean, it would be practically unfair.
Are making demands.
Practically unfair to ask for anything from these guys because
they don't understand the situation they're going through there.
It's so when
they believe that they are picking monies. You've gone out of the country. Life is good, so you must send us something because we contributed to your traveling out of the country.
You know, it's the same thing. So somebody just got married. His wife is supposed to have a child. They need to do CS, they need to get a house. Let them settle. Let them breathe.
Or they give a child to say, okay, we are giving you this child. Take care of the child as you are getting married. This is we saying, go with this child, train her. She's your first child, so to speak, now that you're married.
Maybe not as a right. So I like a situation where my children feel we have to do this. So my first son, Babataba, this is your responsibility. You're just 11, but this is what you have to do. So we commit to a task. And then when they're older, they understand that I'm used to being responsible. Parents should not assume that children should be responsible once they get married. So now that you're married, don't focus on your family. You need to face me. I think we should start to teach these things early enough so that it doesn't look like a burden. Because I know so many people who don't take their parents' calls. They feel like my parents don't understand what I'm going through. Yes, and the parents feel, oh, this child is so ungrateful. There has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. We need to do proper orientation for parents that these children are not a retirement plan.
And I do think...
All right. We need to quickly go on a commercial break.
Okay.
When we return, we'll continue this conversation and would like for you to join us in this conversation. We want to hear what you think about this topic. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Argentina, champions of the world! What's crack-a-lackin' bass spots?
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect...
Thank you for staying with us. So the conversation we were having before we went on the break, we're talking about the notion that some parents who have more female children enjoy the most at old age. We're asking what your thoughts are and if you agree or disagree. So you can join the conversation. Call us on 081-270-53687 or 091-390-76948, or you can tweet at us using @TVC Connect, using the hashtag YourViewTVC. And then there's also the notion that some parents see their children as retirement benefit or retirement plan. And so because they have given their all, they sacrificed, they went through abuse, went through all forms of abuse, domestic violence and all, and they channeled their energy. Instead of looking at what was going on, they channeled their energy on their children and decided, you know what, this is my child, I just want you to become. Now you have become. When you get your salary, divide it into two, send me half immediately, don't waste time. Whatever it is, make sure you are focusing on me. Else, you face the music. What do you think? What are your views on this? We have some comments, do we?
Yes, we do. We have some comments on YouTube. Murtala Konde says, some boys are useful to their parents more than girls, but it's not common among boys. Right? He goes on to say, men traveling from one state to the other, parents and families are expecting from you. What did you bring for us?
Of course.
Aderonke Oduyemi says, yes, it's true female children take care of their parents at old age, unlike the male children. I can attest to that. I'm from a family of 7 females and 2 males. The males are stingy.
They might be going through life issues. It's not that. You know, some people are not deliberately stingy. It may just be that life is not balanced the way they want it, but then cannot give from the little they have. But whatever it is, what your parents are asking, what some parents are asking for is just, give me a call. Check up on me. Just let me hear your voice. They are not necessarily making demands of you. All they want is, let me hear you.
Old age can be very lonely.
Yes.
It can be very
They just want that companion at the time. They know that, okay, they are counting down to their life winding up or living life, so to speak. And they just want to feel their children the more. There are those parents. We must ensure that we categorize them. But then there are those who are saying, I gave my all, blood, sweat, and tears.
You must
meet my demands or else.
I will disown you.
It's not even disown. Some go as far as
telling others.
Placing a curse.
Or telling others, talk to that ungrateful child. Call him. Call her. Yeah.
So I want us to look into all of those aspects as we wait for our callers and for people to send in their comments. When parents are, how do children manage these parents? How can they go about managing a parent who is demanding, overbearing, making demands of them? How do they have conversations such that their parents begin to see things from the eyes of their children?
Okay, so I would say communication would help, but I would, at the risk of repeating myself, I would insist again that these things don't start when the children become adults. It starts from now. So let the younger parents learn from parents who have grown-up children, and let us see that we don't make the same mistakes they made.
All right, we have a caller. If you could just hang on. We have a caller calling Shola from Ikorodu. Shola, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's have your comment.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to all the ladies in the street.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, that call dropped. Shola, if you can, do call us again as we wait for some others to call in to join the conversation. Yes.
Yeah, so I was saying it has a lot to do with the foundation. So imagine that guy who, okay, the ladies that are 7 and have 2 boys. How did they raise the boys? No, sometimes boys just feel somebody is going to make my food, somebody will pack my bag, somebody will get my clothes ready. So if boys are used to having everything done for them, how will they become adults and they won't feel like you're putting them under pressure to come and take care of you? So I think we need to flip it over. Let's see that chores are done by both boys and girls. Let the boys be active.
But for our parents who can no longer raise their children are adults now. Yeah. That's the aspect I'm looking at.
Okay, so how
you are adults now.
Okay.
So how does that child? You want to show compassion to your parents. You want to provide for them. You are not wicked. The ones who are not wicked now, yes, because there are those who are wicked, who are stingy, like the lady said. You want your parents to understand that life is not as you think it is, because some parents are still living in the past. They feel that things are as easy as it used to be then, but it is not. They do not understand the realities.
But do those children flaunt money around their parents?
Not necessarily.
Because I feel if your parents know that you're barely surviving, you're doing your best to keep ahead in life, they would not ask you to get them a car today. But you can't be kind of comfortable and you say, Mommy, give me 2 years, this is an investment, this is. So I feel communication and compassion again. So somehow we need to show our aged ones compassion. Very important.
Very important.
And then we also need to communicate. So sometimes you need to go and see them and let them understand that this is it. Okay, so I can upgrade to this point, but just give me another 2 years, give me 1 year, and then understand it. I don't think parents will be deliberately impatient.
It's like you don't understand. You have not seen, because I've seen experiences of some persons where there are demands on the child that they gave everything. They are even telling the wife, see, I raised this man. You cannot just pack yourself to one corner. In fact, your husband is going to leave the house because we want him to take care of us. I want him to take care of me. I gave my all to take care of it. I've heard, and so you don't even know. Toby, let me even hear you first.
Yes, I think that our parents are not in touch with today's reality.
Yes.
Right? So I would use my grandma as an instance. So if we go to visit her and she says, oh, 20 naira, I'm like, Grandma, 20 naira cannot buy anything today, right? But so if you give her something like maybe 2,000 or 5,000, she's looking like,
so happy.
That's a lot.
Yes. And that's like the story, I mean, with most older parents now. They're not in touch with today's reality, and that the purchasing power of the naira has dropped. So even if a child is earning so much in your eyes,
it may not do so,
much in the end.
True.
So there's the aspect of trying to find a balance.
Yeah.
Where, yes, you made an error in raising your children. Yes, you feel that you have made all the sacrifice. You feel that you have a right to whatever that child has right now. So because you gave your all, you sacrificed everything. But remember too, that the child determined to become. Because you could have sacrificed everything, and the child also refused to become.
Beautiful.
So, and then the child now has a life, a family. We must be considerate. The aspect of being considerate is very important. We have a caller on the line. Real One is on the line. Real One, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes. I want to make contribution to the present topic. That film are closer to the older parents than the married.
Okay, if you could just speak louder, we can't really hear you, Real One. Are you there?
Yes. Female are more.
Unfortunately, Real One will have to let you go because the network is not clear, but do call again so that we can hear your thoughts. So I was talking about being considerate.
Being considerate, yeah.
It's very important. As a parent, yes, you give your all. He cannot, that child cannot repay you for everything, for the sacrifices you made, no matter the amount, even if he gives you everything in his or her account, they cannot pay back for everything. We must understand that. And so, whatever the child is able to give, please, just appreciate it.
And celebrate it.
Celebrate it as much as possible. Yeah. Don't give yourself unnecessary pressure and things begin to affect your health. You are wondering, okay, what is my child doing for his wife? Why is he not doing this for me? Why is my daughter not doing that for me? What's she doing for her family? It's her family. They are also your family, an extension of you.
Yeah.
So why are we not looking at that? That it is important to also allow them become, stabilize. Yes, you went through issues.
Yeah.
They acknowledge that. But whatever they do for you, they cannot repay. They can never repay you for the sacrifice you made. And it was in you decided to have them, right? And so you had to make that sacrifice, whether you like it or not.
Yes. You chose to be responsible.
You chose to be responsible.
Because there have also been irresponsible fathers.
There has been, of course. We acknowledge that. Thank you for being responsible. That is why the child is giving the much they can. Now to the children. Those who their parents made all the sacrifice but have refused to acknowledge that. There is a blessing that comes with sacrificing, giving back to your family. There is a blessing.
You will make a very good counselor. You took time to face the parents. And when you're done, it's okay. Now let's talk to the children.
Oh, God. My head is swelling, no?
So we must have that balance.
No, there has to be that balance.
So it's both parties.
It's both parties.
This message is not for one.
It's not for one. It's for everyone.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yeah.
The children who have refused to, who are feeling, okay, this responsibility, it's not for me right now. It is yours. Yeah. You don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Whatever. See, your parents do not want so much from you. All they want is that companionship. You call to say, how are you? Remember, you grow old too. You have children too. What do you intend, or what are you expecting from your own children? Would you like them to play the same card you're playing with your parents at this time if you are not taking care of them? Is that what you want your children to do to you? I'm sure you wouldn't want that.
Buttressing what Veronica said, which is why sometimes when you bring parents to the city, right, and you try to upgrade them, they'll be like, well, I'm going back to the village. They don't really need so much from you. They just want the barest minimum, which she has said is compassion.
We need to quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll have a guest join us. To stay with us.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, And last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Ikechukwu Sunday Okonkwo, aka Cross. Now your intro without
Wow.
So there's a name that thing that's.
I'm just drinking because you say I should drink. There's no particular answer.
I think it's only that can be wicked.
What's the answer?
Subterfuge.
Eh?
Yeah. They claim you did, but you said it just happened. That
And it's called what again?
Subterfuge.
Such a fuge.
Subterfuge.
So you look me finish from head to toe. You look at a person who go know what to become such. Yeah?
The nude wasn't like a game plan. Or...
I promise you, it was actually a mistake. Like.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw.
All right, thank you for joining us. So right now we have a guest joining us. His name is Femi Adekunle. He's a parent, educator, lawyer. He's joining us via Zoom to look into this matter of parents making demands of their children and children taking care of their parents, and who takes care of their parents even the most. Thank you, Mr. Adekunle, for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much, and good morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning, viewers.
Good morning, sir.
I believe that you've been following our conversation with regards to the fact that some parents see their children as retirement benefits or retirement plans. And then there are also children who feel that it is not their responsibility to take care of their children, even at old age, that their parents have lived their lives, and it is time for them to begin to build their lives. How do you address these issues?
Okay, thanks so much. Now, for me, there are two sides to it. First and foremost, no parent should get to that space where you see your children as your meal ticket, or you see your children as having the responsibility and the obligation to take care of you in old age. For young parents, the message is this: let everyone work and be diligent to such an extent in such a way that when it's time for you to retire, you would have put in so much that you'll be able to take care of yourself. Come to think of it, when people retire at 60, at 65, or at 70, you know, there is little they really need to take care of themselves. Again, all the children have been sponsored, their education is done, and all of that. So to eat, to live a good life does not need much at that point. And so it needs careful planning in your active years of service. And so nobody should really look up or forward to their children being the ones that will be their meal ticket in old age or at retirement. That's one side to it. The other side to it, however, is that as children, we must also appreciate and recognize the efforts and the input of our parents in our lives. I always tell people this: there's no amount of money, there's no amount of value that you can put on what your parents have invested into you. Let's even forget about money, okay? pay your school fees, sponsor your education abroad and all of those things. What about the emotional investment, the spiritual investment, and all other investments into your life? They cannot be quantified in pecuniary terms. They cannot be valued monetarily. And so, as children whose parents have labored, we must recognize that fact and let it be a responsibility, not one that they impose on us, but the one that we take upon ourselves to ensure that our parents don't suffer in old age. But now this is the balance, right? This for me is the balance. Now, when some parents complain, for instance, that their children are not taking care of them, you need to now trace it back to the growing up years, the parenting years when the children were young. How much have you bonded with your children? How much of emotions have you invested into their lives that in old age you want to cash out on? There are parents who believe that, look, as long as they pay their children's school fees, they get them into good schools, they get a driver to pick them to and from school, that's all they need to do. No, that's not all. And so what happens when the children grow up is that, yes, you have sponsored their education, you have seen them through their growing up years, but there's no bonding. There's no emotional attachment. And so, as young parents, I always tell people, invest time into parenting your children. When they are young is the time to bond with them. And so it will be difficult for them when they are grown to detach from you. Detach from you in the sense that not that they will not be able to live their lives, but it will be difficult for them to forget you. It is the emotional and time investment into their lives that you will be drawing on in old age. And you see, it's not just even about money. When your children, maybe they're in New York, they're in Australia, wherever they are, call you, do a Zoom call, Daddy, how are you? Mommy, how are you doing? It goes a long way than somebody just throwing money at you and then not even asking about your welfare. So for me, it's both ways.
Thank you so much. So my question is, for parents who have missed this phase of their lives of having to bond or bonding with their children when they were younger, how do they rectify the situation now? What can be done to remedy that situation?
You see, I have counseled with and encountered parents who have this challenge in their old age. It is you see, what has been done in most cases cannot be undone. The harm, the damage that has been done sometimes is irremediable, is irreparable. However, parents that I have encountered, like I said, in this space, what they can do and what I advise them to do is to call their children and try to apologize. You see, there are things we do in error. There are things we do in ignorance, which go a long way to hurting our children. And so many children are in that place of hurt that they believe that, look, I have nothing to do with my dad again. I have nothing to do with my mother again. They have hurt me so much. But you see, there is a place for penitence, for repentance, such that you go to your children and apologize. Whatever it is that you have done that has hurt them, parents have to come down from their high horse and ensure that they apologize to their children for whatever it is that are the hurts and the pains of yesteryears that they have inflicted on them. In the same vein, as children, we have to come to that place where we need to forgive our parents. And you see, there's something, called, as a Christian, there's something we call a covenant obligation on the part of children to their parents. It is an obligation. No matter how bad, no matter how hurtful your parents have been towards you, right? Or how hurtful you feel towards your parents, there is a place where God expects that you have that covenant obligation towards them, no matter what. And there's a place of blessing in it when you recognize and appreciate the fact that, look, this is my dad, this is my mom, I just have to forgive them and move on. Trust me, you'll find a lot of peace, inner peace in doing that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Dekule. Thank you for that. So I'd like to ask, so I'm a fan of ensuring that we get it right from the foundation, but I'd like you to say in very specific terms, how can parents help boys to become responsible before they become adults? What are some measures that parents can put in place to ensure that their boy children, I know girls, we ask them to do chores, you send them around, you want them to handle decisions in the home, but so many times we don't want to bother the boys. We feel boys are busy, they know what they're doing. You know, there's this, let's give him time, let's give him time. So at what age do you advise that we start to make boys responsible in the home? Thank you, sir.
Okay, I mean, talking about boys, right? We made that mistake as parents to stereotype our children along gender lines. And society also makes that mistake because, just like you rightly said, we believe girls have to do the chores, girls have to, sweep the house, girls have to cook, girls have to be feminine and all of that. Whilst that is true to an extent, that must never be a rule of the thumb. Why do I say this? You see, there are some stereotypes that damage our children. You need to study your child very well. You need to come to that place where you understand the configuration of each child, whether male or female. And so when you have your children and you come to that space, you discover that some girls are even more inclined to doing masculine tasks in the house. I have a son, one of my sons, one of my twins, right? He loves cooking so much that I had to enroll him in a culinary school. Wow. And when he got to that school, people were asking, "You're the only boy in the class. What are you doing here?" But hey, that's his passion. He loves it. And so when I was growing up, my parents never discriminated in terms of which chores, you have to do as a boy or as a girl. We all did everything. I pounded yam, I make amala, I do everything. We all sweep the house. The girls, similarly, they do things that we also do. And so for the boy child, specifically now to your answer, it has to be teaching them responsibility. I tell my boys, for instance, they have an elder sister. Whatever this your sister has done to you, you must never raise your hand to say you want to slap her or to beat her or anything. I'm training them to be gentlemen who will respect women. In fact, one day, one of my twins, when they were much younger, came back from school and said there's this girl that used to harass her in school, used to slap her, used to beat her. I had to restrain myself, because I keep telling her she's a girl, you must never raise your hand on a girl. So we have to get to that place where we teach our boys how to be responsible. Because come to think of it, when you train a girl, there's so much emphasis on the girl child. When you, after investing all of those training on the girl child, hey, she's going to end up marrying a guy. What kind of commensurate training does the potential for as parents when we are training our marriage to a girl out there? Let it not be that a well-trained girl would end up marrying an untrained guy. That would be a disaster for the marriage.
Right. So I want to come back to the issue of adults who are hurting. Because some adults who take up this decision of not caring for their parents at old age, like you mentioned, are hurting, maybe because of how their parents raised them. Talking about some parents being very harsh, and so they were not friendly with their children. How would you expect them, or what would be your advice to those who find themselves hurting from childhood trauma, incidents at childhood? How should they unburden? How should they get this off their minds such that they can develop some level of compassion, not just for their parents, but for their children as well, because one way or the other, it might be affecting their parenting skills towards their children.
Yes, I mean, I said part of it earlier that look, on both sides, the party that has inflicted the hurt has to get to this place where they will make amends, they will show remorsefulness, they will be penitent.
What I'm asking is that in itself enough? Because how about counseling?
I'm coming there. There are two sides to it. That's the first part. That's the first part, which I said earlier. But the other part is that sometimes, depending on the gravity of hurt that the child, for instance, is feeling. For example, imagine a girl, and we see it these days so rampant, both here and in the Western world.
Yeah.
A girl child that has been serially raped by her father. How do you explain that? For crying out loud, mere apologies in old age can never sort that out. So the hurting child in old age, in adulthood, has to seek professional help. She has to go through a lot of therapies for her to get to the place where she can say, I'm healed. It's a healing process, and it takes time. And so I would advise such people to engage professionals to take them through healing therapies that will help them not only to be a better person, it will make them to even forgive themselves and to make them to be better parents for their own children. You see, because some things that we have internalized are the things we act out subconsciously in old age. And so you discover that parents that have been that have lived through torturing parenting years while they were young have the propensity to taking their children through such, and that will not be good for the home.
Right. Toby.
Thank you so much, sir. Can you kindly speak to parents who are hurting? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Can you kindly speak to parents who are hurting based on the behaviors of their children when they were young? I ask because sometimes, you know, it's easy to point accusing fingers at parents, saying that our parents did not do X, Y, Z. But I know that there's some children who have become rebels, in quotes, and have treated their parents in fact, distasteful ways. So can you speak to parents who are hurting from that kind of trauma that they'd also experienced from their children?
Okay. Parents that hurt. I remember I once wrote a piece on that. Now, when as a parent you're hurting from, you know, the action or inaction of your children, first and foremost, you have to put it in perspective. How old were your children when they misbehaved? The teenage years are most turbulent. Like someone said, she said, when your child, there are 2 times in your life when you feel like running away from the home is 15. You know, it's funny, but it's very true.
Okay.
Teenagers, yes, teenagers are a handful. And as parents, you need to have skills to handle them, because those are the years when your children can either be made or marred. And so when it's the growing up years that your children did stuff that really got you into that place of hurt, you have to understand the psychological reasoning or the psychological explanation behind it. That's a time where we have to be extremely patient with our children. That's a time patience has to mix with firmness. It's a skill that has to be acquired, but it's uncommon, because when your child is a teenager, the time that your child is a teenager, that's a time you may give up as a parent, but it's not the time to give up, because by the time they enter into their 20s, late 20s, they begin to reflect and realize and understand why dad or mom was so harsh or hard on me at that time, and they will grow to appreciate it. All of us have gone through it, trust me. I mean, except we don't want to confess to this, we as adults now, we look back into our teenage years, into our grown-up years, and appreciate our parents for those things that they have done. And so as parents, you have to understand what your child is going through, or what your child was going through at that time, so that you'll be able to bring yourself to the place where you will be able to understand and forgive that child. The only challenge is where it's a continuous thing, such that the child continues to misbehave even in adulthood. But again, that might also be a function of how you parented them. So just like I said earlier, it's a place where both of you have to dialogue, understand where the challenge is, and apologize to each other and forgive each other.
Right. Mrs. Fash, your question?
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, sir. I listened and I was so happy. I'd like him to just emphasize a bit. Firmness, punitive measures, firmness, what kind of discipline? I'd like him to just talk to us about that.
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
Okay, so I'm asking, I like what you said about patience must meet with firmness, meaning there must be a balance between patience. A parent must be patient and should also be firm. So firmness to you, in what terms, sir? Punitive measures, how exactly?
Okay, you see, when you're talking about discipline, no parent must abdicate that responsibility to discipline their children. Discipline can cause pain, and that is the way it is. It's like the way it is when we are tendering our garden. Parenting sometimes can be likened to the passion for gardening, such that you go into your garden, you trim your flowers, you cut some branches. You know, at that point, they may look like you're hurting the plants. They may even look ugly. But give it another 2 or 3 weeks, you see how they blossom. But they can't also blossom unless you water them. And that's the way it is in parenting. Nobody must ever be slack on discipline. Now, when you're talking about discipline, discipline means different things to different parents. Okay. The way you discipline a toddler is different from the way you discipline an adolescent, for instance. It's different from the way you're going to discipline a teenager or a preteen, you know. Even suckling babies, infants, 6 months old, 8 months old, can be disciplined. I don't know if you agree with me. Let me set an instance, for example. Yeah. Your little baby that is still sucking, right? And has grown just 4 teeth, bites the mother's nipples and looks into her eyes.
What should we do?
That tells you that
they know.
That baby knows what he has done. How do you discipline such a baby? She needs to be disciplined. How? The way she's looking at you, you to look at her sternly and use the finger to do this. No, you don't do that. Trust me, you are sending a message, because that is why we say some of the behavioral traits in children are congenital. Not all are learned. Some are inborn. That is why psychopaths, for instance, they are born with that trait. And so when you're talking about discipline, it depends on, you know, from home to home, from parent to parent. But one thing is very clear. Discipline and punishment are 2 different things. You discipline a child, you don't punish a child. When you discipline a child, it may look like punishment, but it becomes discipline when you not call the child to explain. I try as much as possible to do that to my children, my wife and I, all the time, to say that, look, do you know why you were disciplined? Do you know why I had to do X, Y, Z to you? It was because of this and this you did wrong. After all the crying, after all the sobbing, after all the throwing of tantrums, you drop back the child and explain. And then he, in his, you know, little or young as he or she is, will be able to understand that my dad actually loves me. So discipline has to be mixed with love for it to have effect.
Now, that is one aspect that most parents are finding difficult, talking about love, loving their children. They don't express love to their children. They don't tell their children how much they love them. Now, when we are looking at matters of parents planning for their retirement and also the matter of love, how should they go about expressing love to their children? And also for young parents, how can they plan for retirement such that their children are not their retirement plans?
4 in 1. All at once.
Yeah, two questions in one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I mean, we all know, as married people, we all know about these very popular sayings or teachings about the 5 love languages by, I think, Gary Chapman, you know. And he also wrote another book talking about the love languages of children. It's the same thing. It's not just your wife or your husband that you need to speak their love languages to. You also have to know how to speak love languages to your children. There are children, for instance, most children, truth be told, express, in fact, spell love as T-I-M-E. That's their definition of love. You have to just spend time with them. And this goes a long way in showing love. It's not just in the gifts that you buy. It's not just in the paying of school fees or lavishing of expensive clothes on them. The time you spend with them, a walk to the park, drive to the supermarket together, you know, after school, spend time doing their homework. Even after homework, watch their favorite cartoons with them. You may not understand what they are saying. It may even be boring to you. But when they laugh, pretend as if you are laughing with them. You are bonding. And that is an expression of love. There are some of them, you know, it is in the gifts that you give to them. There are some of them, it is in what you do for them. His bicycle got spoiled. You don't just tell him, yeah, go and figure it out, go and fix it, or go take it to the vulcanizer next week. You carry that bicycle, you empathize. Oh, this happened. Oh, the spoke broke or something. The tires came off. Okay, don't worry. You put him in the car, go to the vulcanizer and fix it for him. Those are expressions of love. And so you need to study your child to know what kind of love language will really get him, you know, to understand and appreciate that you love them. And for the second part, I said a bit of that earlier. In our productive years, let's try as much as possible.
Okay.
Let's work as though we don't have children. What if we don't? What if it's an act of providence that we don't and we grow up? Are we not going to survive? So let nobody get to that space where your children will become your meal ticket. Let's try and plan for our retirement.
Okay, so this last question is just a yes or no answer that I would like to get from you, which is the matter of parents who have more female children. Do they enjoy the most at old age? True or false?
Well, I'll say false for an explanation.
Quickly, in 20 seconds.
Okay. You see, empathy from a child towards the parents is not a gender thing. It is not gender-based. It is, 1, personality-driven, and 2, foundation-driven. And time will not permit you to explain all of that. But let me just say this. Whether you're a boy or a girl, you can take care of your child regardless of your gender. Come to think of it, as a guy, as a man, you get married. When you get married, I believe that is your parents harvesting another child. And so your wife must be in that place where she relates as a daughter to your parents. And so every parent-in-law should not have, I tell people, I don't have a mother-in-law, I have a mother, I have a second mother. Yeah. And for me, I'm her son, I'm not her son-in-law, because the things her sons do for her, I do equally. Yeah. And the things my sisters do for my mom, my wife does equally. And that's the way it should be.
All right, we'll leave it here now. We must thank you so much, Mr. Femi Adekunle, for your time on the program. It's been an interesting conversation. Parent educator as well as lawyer, for your time on the program. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
yes.
sir.
Thank you.
A pleasure. Thank you very much.
Right. Now let's come back to us. We have another quick conversation we need to have. I'm not sure if we need to go on a break before we begin this conversation. But it's just about talking about damaged women. Let me just paint the picture for us. It says, there are damaged women around. Don't be in a hurry to fall in love. Open your eyes well. Some people are emotionally damaged and mentally challenged. If you love them, you need to seek help for them before marriage. Hurt people will hurt you.
Yeah.
True or false? You can join the conversation, and the number is still 081-270-53687 or 091-390-76948, or you can tweet at us using @TVC Connect using the hashtag YourViewTVC. It's not just women that are emotionally damaged.
You get wish.
Okay. I don't get wish, though.
Oh my God.
I don't get
But it's easy to start the conversation saying women.
Okay. So maybe we shouldn't look at the women part. So it doesn't seem like that's the part we picked. But that's a very true statement.
It's a true statement.
It's a true statement.
Remove the women.
Yeah,
there are emotionally damaged people walking on the streets that need help, but do not recognize the fact that they need help.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it's true. Yeah. And I want to say thank you to him again.
Right.
Yeah. Because everything he said. I mean, I wish we don't only have schools for children, but for parents as well, because parents need orientation, reorientation. They need to relearn. They need to unlearn. I mean, it's just wise that the kind of attention we give to premarital counseling, we give to parents as well, because they need to be trained. I respect a particular school that would only accept your child after you've gone through their parenting school.
Really?
Yes, here in Lagos. So after you come out, you graduate, your child will come so that you were speaking the same language. And we're not speaking Spanish, you are speaking, you know. So I think it's very true. I think it's true that so many adults out there are hurt. I like to change the term damaged to bitter, hurt. So many people are hurt, and it's not very easy for people to forgive. Just like what he said.
Why though?
Because they are holding on so tightly to those things. And for some other people, based on temperament difference, personality differences, some people still want that apology. Some people want parents to
Closure.
go. So those cases have not been closed. And then some parents know they did stuff and they just feel, I'm your parent. I was only doing that to protect you. And the children don't see it that way. So I feel we need to open up again. Let's have conversations. Let's see that parents are willing to admit. So I did a program recently, and I had about 100 teenagers, preteens. And one of the statements that some of them kept saying is, why do my parents feel they cannot be wrong?
Right?
Yes. Why do they think they can't be wrong?
Even up until now.
And guess what? Guess what? When we go through some of these things, we realize that they are referring to an issue that happened maybe 7 years ago for a preteen. So maybe when that child was 6. So I'm not surprised when a child somewhere says, I don't feel myself at 7, because these children have very strong minds.
Yes.
So when you think you just did it, go away.
And they're soaking it in.
So whatever happens between 2 and 10, formative years, 2 and 10, can linger on and even form a bitter adult. So the question is, how would you identify a child who is hurt or an adult who was a hurt child? I would say from the responses, from the views. For me, one of the things I learned from a particular pastor is, be careful with the words always and never. When you hear people say, I will never,
or I always...
I will never is a problem. When you hear people, when you find out that people do not have authority figures in their lives that they respect, when you find out that people do not have a lot of honor for the counsel of their parents and people in their families, that's also a problem. It's a red alert. It's
some persons do not necessarily not want such figures in their lives.
Okay.
They might have also had experiences that make them believe, I beg you.
Let me live my life.
It's not enough to disregard their counsel. It's okay for us not to agree on the way we do things, but when people just feel, you know, there are some people who feel,
I can take care of myself.
My parents don't need to be, I mean, my parents, all they need to know is an FYI for your information, for them to know. I don't necessarily
it's my life.
Their consent
to do the things I'm doing.
My life.
That's not okay. I would have a problem with a guy my daughter brings home who
by
says,
way of educating people.
Yes.
Why should people have such persons in their life? Not necessarily parents. There are those who look up to others, who feel that they are responsible to some other persons who are not necessarily their parents. Why have such figures in your life? Why is it important to have such figures? We need to educate people on that.
I feel that, so there's this popular statement that goes, in the multitude of counsel, there is safety.
That's for Christians.
For Christians. Then I also feel that people have had experiences that you might not have heard of or seen or imagined, but you don't necessarily need to walk through somebody else's path to be wise. You must not make the mistakes somebody else made. You can learn from some other people's mistakes. Then, just like a beach ball, I love that analogy so much. If we put a beach ball here, I'll probably see blue, she might see yellow, you might see pink, but somebody else might see it from the top. So sometimes some people might have the experience that we don't have. So when you find yourself, so it might not be one person in every area. It might be somebody who just tends to have a lot of experience or relevant information in that area. So even, I'm not asking that you listen to the people I want you to listen to. You must have people in your life that you listen to. You must have people in your life who can help you get through pain. Don't hold on to all the pain. Yeah.
I think if we're taking it step by step, right, the quote we read says some people are emotionally damaged and mentally challenged.
Yes.
Looking at it from the point of that, how then do we begin to have conversations, right? Because I feel like we're breezing over the points we're making, right, and not dwelling.
Hitting the nail on the head.
We're just, like we're do you understand what I'm saying?
You're just dancing around it.
Not dancing around, we're just saying the points like one.
Yes, this is what.
But I feel like if we take two, we can dwell on it because, you know, there are damaged people around.
Yes.
There are damaged people around, which may sometimes inform the decision as to not to report to anybody. Those are like situations, real life. So how do we help people in this kind of situation?
So does the question address the fact that those people are hurting? Do they know? Do they know that they are hurting? I think
that's another aspect.
So
some people do not. That's the issue that I raised.
You raised, yes. That do they even know?
Some
and how
people do not know that they are hurting, right?
Yeah.
But they just feel that someplace they are not okay. They know they are not okay, but they do not want to accept the fact that they are not okay.
They are not okay,
right? There are those who emotionally issues have gone on. Yes, we know, and so they have come to this point of being broken. How do we mend them? It begins from accepting the fact that, you know what, I have this issue. And I know that I am not whole as I should be, mentally, psychologically, in every way. And it is affecting me. So you need to withdraw from every activity you're finding yourself. Because some people just throw themselves into all kinds of activities. Just to, as a coping mechanism. And they are not copying anything. They are not moving forward. They are only moving in circles. You are not making progress. So it is about you just taking a step back. Accepting the fact that there's something wrong with
Which is very difficult, by the way.
Yes, it is difficult.
Because
you realize that I am not moving forward in certain areas. I realize that even in my relating with people, I am too... I build a wall.
I'm always on the edge.
I'm uptight and I build a wall in such a way that people cannot necessarily permeate or walk through, penetrate to have access to me, the real me. You get home, you are in tears, you're soaked in your own tears and so many issues. You can't really make critical decisions. You know that you have a challenge. And then you begin to look for who you can trust to have a conversation with, because such people do not trust people. They find it difficult trusting.
Be vulnerable with anybody.
They find it difficult to be vulnerable
with anyone.
anyone.
Veronica.
You have to find one person.
Yeah.
You have to unburden, because the truth is, one quick point I need to make. If you keep going in that way, you will walk through life, and life won't have its impact on you. That's one big issue. You will miss out on so many things. You think you are living life to the optimal level. It's a lie.
Yes, you literally brought the words out of my mouth. You see, and I think that we're in a generation that is woke. So sometimes when we see those characteristics, we tend to say, that is my personality. We excuse it with
thinking
other
of my
things.
mental health.
We don't believe in
Gen Z
counseling.
Yes.
We don't believe in going to seek
there's a lot of
professional help. It's important we look at those things and ensure that you are the expert here. Just talk to them.
Okay, so I feel everybody needs this one person who is unassuming, who is non-judgmental. So in the event that you have someone like that around you, it's so important that you make all the excuses for that person. What do I mean? Don't always look for a reason why you feel that person had that issue. And don't assume that it's because you were naughty. It's because you didn't listen. Sometimes we need to be unassuming. You need to just start on a clean slate so that the person can heal up. People heal faster when they feel comfortable around you, when you don't remind them of their pain. So it's important to be unassuming around such people. Then it's also good to let them know that there's a process of healing. Healing is not, I will not do it again.
No.
Healing is not, I'm sorry. Or healing is not, whenever I feel bad, I don't know why I get into this. So that's not healing. There's a process. You've got to, I do not think we do a lot of rehabilitation stuff in Nigeria, but that's so important. And it shouldn't just be tied to drugs or alcohol, sex. There are people who should go into rehabilitation for internal issues. I'm unable to let go of this pain and take some time off, take some retreat issue, you know. So I would say help them through the healing process. And don't remind them of the pain. As you're helping them through, you've got to be patient with such people. But I agree with the person who made the quote. Such people do not need relationships. That's not the best time to say.
But in a case when you've married that person already.
In a case where you already have married that person, you need to help the person. Help the person find help. Be the first person the person can trust to talk to. Let that person be vulnerable with you. And ensure that you are a space the person can feel comfortable.
And be patient.
And be
because
patient
it will take a while.
with them, because it will take a while. We must leave it here. It's been an interesting run, and it is good to have you, Mrs.
Yes, Mrs. Pash.
I enjoyed myself.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of the show this morning. This is where we have to draw the curtains on the program. It's been an interesting run, and you can go back to watch the conversation we have had. Just check the link on all of our social media pages. You'll definitely find what you're looking for. We'll leave it here now. See you next Saturday. Bye.
Bye.